NFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the three Amigos, the perfect way to kickstart your Premier League weekend. And not the best way to start the weekend, I guess, with Eddie's press conference today, which we're going to start with, which brought us the news that Johan Wissa is injured, unspecified amount of time out at this moment in time, but he has a knee injury. And Jacob Ramsey hasn't recovered from the knock that he received from Sean Longstaff in the last game against Leeds. But we do know his set return date is not going to be until at least after the next international break. There is some positive news. Joe Linton is back into the first team squad, has been training. And Voldemort has been getting used to his new teammates as well. Let's not forget he was our record signing in the transfer window. Is our record signing at the club and deserves every bit of our support from 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon as he looks to find the back of the onion bag and get 3 points for Newcastle. There's plenty to talk about tonight. I'm afraid we are going to have to talk tickets at some point because it's such a big story today and yesterday with the front page of the Chronicle. And it's something we've spoken about many times on here, or at least certainly mentioned, but yeah, we will come to that in due course. And we will, of course, talk about David Hopkinson. I will reiterate what I've said all week. I won't be getting Keith on the programme for the foreseeable. I don't think there's any point in discussing APT at this moment in time because we haven't got the results of Man City's case yet. And I just don't see the point of leading everyone up the garden path and saying X, Y, and Z when nobody knows what's going on yet. It's one case. It's the case that Man City were taken against the Premier League and, they've dropped it. And yes, there's been exchanges of conversation between them. Man City can't say anything. And until we know what the hell's gone on in the main case, I don't really want to talk about it. It's as bad as talking about transfers, like leading people up the garden path and saying X, Y, and Z are coming to the club. And that's not what we're doing in UFC Matters. So I appreciate everyone asking us to get Keith on, but unless there's something to talk about with Keith, Keith isn't really part of the show. So thanks for everybody for suggesting it, but I would. I also won't bow to people saying don't get Ben Jacobs on again. I've had a few people criticising me for having Ben Jacobs on the show. We all have different opinions about Ben. Even us on this show have different opinions. Some know a lot more than others about Ben than I ever will. However, when transfer window comes around, I do like to hear what Ben has to say with regards to transfers, ins and outs. But again, if you don't like those shows, you don't need to watch them. That's all I'll say to you. We do like to have a cross-section of people on the show. We like to have a cross-section of debates and people come and go. But that's out of my system now. I wanted to say that all week, but the best show to say it on is on NUFC Matters 3 Amigos because it is the flagship show. So, I doubt Mitch could say a flagship show on 9 Jaeger bombs. That's where he's at the moment, and he's got Mr. Penman in the background. So
and 5 of them. So, yeah.
But Mark Byers has said get John O'Hare on. Well, John is back in town, Mark, so you never know, he might pop on one day. But yes, no, he's not sober, Gary, is a question for Mitch. He's on his way to happiness, put it that way, tonight. But look, let's get on with it. I'm going to talk football first, mate, and it's bad news. It's bad news, really, with those two signings picking up injuries. Johan Wissa is a really, really, really concerning one for me because it's a knee injury. We know what that could mean. We also know it might be just a precaution, and he might be keeping him for Barcelona on Thursday. It might be all right, but it wasn't great news coming out of the press conference this morning when we should have just been happy to hear that Joe Linton was coming back and we had a full squad. Yeah,
but I think it was always going to be a really tight turnaround for him getting back. And to have not trained with the first 11 and maybe he's had a day and a half, it was, I think, a big ask for him to turn around and come in and just drop straight into the starting 11 anyway. Having watched a little bit of the highlights of the game against Senegal, he did get kicked all over the pitch for most of the second half before he was taken off. So I'm not surprised his knee's sore. And he went off under his own steam. It wasn't that he was carried off on a stretcher or what have you, you know. I think it's one of these things. We've got games coming up thick and fast, and I'd certainly rather we were precautious about how we go about dropping people into that starting 11. Voldemar has had at least a few days training with the team. Sounds like he's done very well and dropped straight in and dropped into the style and into the squad, you know, mentality. So it doesn't surprise us that they're not just chucking Wissa straight into it. Not if there's any doubt, get the opinion. This is not the actions of Newcastle United of recent history, where a player would be chucked in who was half fit and then do something more serious and then be out for 2 months. Yes, it's just our luck in some respects that, you know, a guy who's hardly had an injury in the last 2 years signs for us and then rocks up with a knee twice the size of his thigh. But, you know, let's genuinely let the medical team work with it. Let Bunce look at it. Get the opinion of the specialist and hope that, you know, we can bring some good news back from that. I still say it was always going to be a tough turnaround for him with that schedule. You know, Waldemar at least finished his second game early and he's had time to come into Newcastle, train with the first team on a few days, get to know his new teammates. Wissa would have had very little time anyway. So, you know, let's see. I think it's one of these things. Let the medical team work it out and we'll take this one on the chin. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I've got to agree with a few people in the chat. I have said to most people this week that I still feel Eddie could go unchanged from Leeds. Obviously bring Joe Linton back in, but Ramsey, when I'm talking about up front, I think Asula could still start with Voldemar coming on as a sub. It'll be interesting to see whether that happens, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, Steve, it's, you know, I've got to be honest, I felt a bit depressed after listening to the bloody press conference this morning because, of course, there was the hangover of Isaac still, and of course, half the press conference was the press asking Eddie for comment on Isaac. So I had all of that like thrown back in our face, having to listen to that over the half an hour. Hopefully that's an end to that. And then obviously the news about the injuries was the disappointing thing as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I mean, yeah, we knew that the Isak story would be the first one that would go for, because there's been a gap, you know, a gap in games, but also a gap since having the opportunity to speak to Eddie in the first place about what's been going on. Eddie did explain a few little things without going into any detail, some pertinent little points that he threw, a couple of little hand grenades, but I think, like most Newcastle fans, I just wanted to hear what the situation was with those lads who have been travelling overseas, playing for their country. You know, you had Bruno, for example, you know, having to go up to Bolivia, playing altitude, played both games as he always does. You know, Bruno's one of those people that just wants to play every single game that's put in front of him. There was, you know, people asking questions whether Bruno would be available, what the situation was, and you got the impression that the answer was basically, when Eddie does ask him, "How are you getting on?" It'll be, "I'm fine. Are you okay to play?" "Yes, I'll play." And then that would be it. The Joe Linton situation is a good one for us. He hasn't been away, and it sounds like he's back and ready for selection. But the big disappointment, obviously, is Wissa. We talked about it, actually, didn't we, earlier in the week, among our little group, when we found out where and how international players get to where they need to be. You know, the amount of travel they have to do, the ridiculous timescales that they're given. The fact that Wissa didn't come back until Thursday when other international players came back on Wednesday from the same group, that said an awful lot. I think that it was obvious then that Wissa stayed behind to have an assessment done on his knee, and maybe he's basically just to rest it. And then obviously travel back Thursday, gets back, and then it's, you know, a trip to the hospital, a trip for a scan. What was surprising, Steve, I think, and probably raised a few eyebrows, was that the initial scan said that he was okay, but when he got to training this morning, he didn't feel right. That's a bit worrying. So obviously they're going to send him back for a scan. The fact that he was kicked all over says an awful lot, but it also says very little, because you can kick someone all over and it's not necessarily going to make any grave difference to a joint or anything like that. You know, you get bruised and battered, but, you know, in terms of a knee injury, you always think, oh, something really serious when it's a knee, unless you've been absolutely caught on the knee. Then usually that sort of problem is in terms of being kicked around, it's usually sort of either top of the thighs or your calves, but certainly below the knee, that you're gonna take something out, an ankle or something. But I think it's disappointing from a fan base, because we were hoping this was the big reset this weekend. Valdemar, he didn't have very far to travel, did he, in comparison? So you would have thought, you know, in theory, that he would have been more the option, and Wissa might have been held back anyway, especially with Barcelona on Thursday. I think Valdemar, where did he have to go? Very, 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 very distant, lack of distance in terms of travel. Everything's in Europe. He wasn't going off to the Congo, and he wasn't going off to Senegal or Sudan or anywhere like that, and he didn't have a ridiculous way to get back. I just hope that everything is okay with Wissa. But I think if you'd asked Newcastle fans what was the worst case scenario, they would have come up with the fact that Wissa it would be out for a period of time without ever wearing a black and white shirt, and, you know, straight away the Doubting Thomases like myself are going, this is something that, you know, you could have written on the back and opened the envelope and went, yeah, that's part of the bingo. I've scored on that one. But let's just hope the lad is okay. Let's hope that we've got him for Thursday night, and let's hope that Valdemar does show his value in terms of the amount of money was spent. He looks like he's integrated really, really well. He looks like he's got that personality to do so, Steve. You know, we've seen personalities before that tend to be wrapped around themselves. You've seen other personalities that want to get into the group, and then you get a personality like, for example, William Asula, who is just bouncing continuously. I think he's the middle there. He's not on the spectrum as far as William Asula, and he's not somebody who's sitting in a locked room keeping himself to himself. He sounds like he's a lad who has the confidence, but will channel it in the right way and be happy to be there on Saturday and face whatever comes to him, you know. So looking forward to the game.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. What's your thoughts, Joe? You know, we should still be positive. You know, as I say, what top, you know, what biggest signing is playing in height and in fee, but it's has got me a bit down, I've got to be honest, going into tomorrow's game. I know Lawson's missing for them, which has been confirmed now, but we need a win tomorrow. We need a comprehensive win tomorrow, and I just feel this has impeded a little bit on my enthusiasm with this week ahead.
Steve, we don't need a comprehensive win. We need
a win.
1-0 off somebody's arse.
I need a comprehensive win. I'll rephrase that. I want a 3-0. I want a 3-0, Joe.
It's I agree with you, Steve. The old fella texted me today and just put whistles out, and I was like, yeah, of course he is. It's like Neil said, isn't it? There is that sense of, it's just typical us, isn't it? You know what I mean? Are we going to get a number 9? Are we going to get our centre forward? We waited, and of course we got him, and we're all over the moon. Looking forward to seeing him on Saturday, and now we're not. I agree with what you've just said, though. I think if it wasn't for Big Nick, let's not forget the alternative now is a £67 million footballer. So it's not all bad, is it? Let's be honest. Will it do Big Nick a favour? Whether he's going to be the number, the centre forward or not. Only time will tell on that one. People seem to think he might play, inside or the classic number 10 role. He's going to have to lead the line on Saturday, isn't he? And that's as simple as that. So you never know. It might be the opportunity to put 3 in at the Gallagher and off his career goes. So, from that perspective, trying to be a bit of a romantic about it all and not too downbeat might not actually be a bad thing, because he's going to have to step up to the plate now, isn't he? But I did wonder about Wisser. I don't want to get onto the old kind of the ex-centre forward whose name we'll never mention again. But is there an effect of not having a full pelt pre-season? He's been having, training on his own, etc. And then he goes off halfway around the world, plays 2 internationals in a short space of time, and lo and behold, he gets injured. So is his body trying to tell him something? But I agree, this is a much better Newcastle United now, much better physio setup. As Mitch said, Bunce will get him looked at, and we'll get a treatment plan sorted, and hopefully he won't be out for too long. So I know we'll come on to Saturday's game later in the show. Wisser or no Wisser, I'd like to hope that we'll beat Wolves anyway. So yeah, it's a body blow. Yes, I was excited to see the new signings. Not going to happen, but there's always next week, isn't there?
I hope so. George, good evening. Thoughts on the news that came out at the press conference today?
Well, it's as somebody's already said, it's us, isn't it? It's bound to be something happening. Well, let's keep it positive. Wisser scored 2 fantastic goals for his country while he was away, and if he could do that occasionally for us, I'll be very happy. The fact that they're protecting him is good news as well. As Neil rightly said, if this had been another time, you would have had the manager stand on the touchline shouting, "Run it off! Run it off!" That's what we would have got, but we haven't. We've got some science in our team at the moment, and that's going to protect Wisser, so he's ready for when we need him. I've been looking at the training videos that's been available this week from Benton, and Voltemada looks absolutely great. And the way he's been going in and the way they've been treating him, he looked to me like he was ready. He was ready to start. So that's positive as well. There's and if you look at his performances for Germany and his performances in the under-21s when he was one of the players of the tournament, he can lead the line. He can do other things as well. So I'm very positive about that. The other thing is that it's sad about Jacob Ramsey. Well, you lads might recall after the Leeds match, I said to you all that tackle by Longstaff could have had a red card. Well, we got the red card, not Longstaff. And somebody needed to look at that. It really was a VAR thing, if ever I've seen it. But we're picking up the red card instead of Longstaff. But I'm still hopeful he'll come through and do something forward, good signing. And all round, it's I don't feel too bad about it all. It still feels good. I'm still looking forward to it. Still looking forward to a comprehensive win. the other noticeable things on the training videos is I think a couple of lads have said it. Valdemara's in the squad. You can see he's mixing. He's doing all the silly things with the other group do, except not quite as silly as Osula is. So I think he'll be fine. And I think he could well be a shock with Spurs, because I think he's also a bit quicker than people think he is for such a big man, and that'll hold him in good stead as well. So great to see Big Joe back as well. That's an important change as well. So I'm still hopeful that we would get the comprehensive win that you would like to see, Steve, and I'd like to see, and send Wolves home with their tails between their legs.
Yeah, let's hope so. Anyway, we'll look ahead to the game in the second half of the show. Lots of people talking about Ramsey, of course. We're focused more on Wissa, but yeah, it is disappointing, Ramsey, as well. He played well at Leeds, looked the part, but he'll be disappointed as well. And I mean, I get it. He could be back for Barcelona. I have said that. So we don't know what the situation is with regards to Wissa. So let's just wait and see. New chief executive in place then. He's got his feet under the table. And I think it's interesting, Mitch, that he automatically will put out a press release. We knew that would happen. An open letter to the fans, which was very positive. I think what impressed me more was that he replied to Al-Walid, not once but twice in the space of 48 hours. Al-Walid, of course, who has done Geordie's here, Geordie's there on this channel for many years, and also is part of the fans forum now. But he essentially is trying to set up the Saudi Newcastle United official supporters club, and he's really been bashing his head against a brick wall with trying to progress that, sadly, for whatever reason. And he's made it quite clear that he wants to continue with it, so he decides to write to the chief executive, who literally had only been in the chair 24 hours, and he got a reply. And it wasn't just I'll look into this, I'm just taking the job. It was I'm not going to read it out. I mean, that's quite a personal thing. I shared it with you guys, but I think he put it out onto social media. You might be able to read it on his Twitter account, but I just thought, wow, I don't know how he's going to continue to do the job day to day if he's constantly answering emails like that. But I thought it was very good that he actually took the time to reply to Al-Walid and explain that he would look into it and essentially come back to him directly.
Yeah, and it's something I'll probably touch on later. The problem that Al-Walid's facing is a problem that's a common theme regarding a lot of things with regard to supporter services, if you ask me. And like I say, I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, I think.
All right.
But in terms of the new CEO taking time to answer directly and personally like that's impressive. And his general letter was impressive. But do you know what? I'm really done with words. Really done with words. We've had great words from Darren Eales. We've had great words from all sorts of people within the club. It's time for some action. It's time for some very direct action in certain parts of the club, in areas where, and again, I think this will overlap with something I'll talk about later in my feelings and opinions. And I've talked about this on this platform and other shows before, about people being in place from the Ashley era who see fans as a problem, not part of the solution, and building their fiefdoms and trying to protect themselves at the expense of everything else. And that's what we're seeing in place. What Al-Walid's facing is a problem in terms of official supporters clubs that all of us have found. All of us who've been involved in the process of trying to establish official supporters clubs around the world. If you fit a certain demographic and you tick certain boxes, it all goes through very fantastically and easily. And if you don't, if you present something that's a little bit left field or outside of what they've already thought about, forget it. and it ties in with so many things that are problematic at the club at the moment. And yeah, words are nice. I can write nice words. I've spent most of my life writing nice words, be it for the Chronicle or the Journal, for fanzines written by you, or fanzines written by other people in the fan base, some of whom decided to shit on us at a later date when I was chair of the trust. Words are fine, Steve. We need more than that now, because we've gone past a certain point. We can't talk about new owners. They're the owners. They've been owners for long enough. We've had enough platitudes and we've had enough nice words. It's time for action. I will judge on action, not nice words. Nice words are great, and it makes you feel a lot better. I'm sure Al Walid feels like he's been reached out to and listened to in a way the club probably haven't. And I can guess why. But there you go.
I agree with you, Mitch. I think we all know the reason why, but it's
Yeah, of
nice.
course we know the reason why.
It's nice that the Hopkinson has actually decided to come out and at
It's
least do this. It's
fantastic
a
to
good
hear
start.
somebody who's genuinely neutral,
Yeah.
who doesn't have a preset agenda, who will listen, and I think that's great. But you learn very quickly, like we did. Look, we've all done this. You've done this as fans liaison officer. Steve and I have done this when we were trying to turn the supporters club into the trust. How many times do you sit down and Newcastle United fans work best when they feel like they're engaged with and listened to? But how much time does that take up?
Yeah.
He does not have the time to deal with that. And there'll have to come a time when he says, I can't answer that email, and you're going to get a very generic answer. I actually don't care about that, providing he's making a difference for our club at the top end, where it really makes a difference, where we need to be catching people up on sponsorships, where we need to be catching people up on recruitment, where we need to be catching people up on the level of our academy, where we need to be catching people up on the amount of under-21s we bring through who come to fruition as a first-team player or come to fruition as a player that we can sell to another club and then generate income on a PSR basis based on pure profit. All of those things are the important things. Sending nice letters are actually irrelevant at the end of the day. Which I'm sorry, that might sound like a really cynical attitude. But maybe I'm a little bit jaded these days.
Okay, I can tell where the ticket and things are going to go, folks. We'll come to that. They'll probably come to that later. That's going to dominate part of the show. I'm telling you now. Steve, yeah, David Hopkinson. I think probably the other talking point about him coming in as chief executive was that the photo they used to announce him was about 20 years old.
Yes, absolute classic, isn't it? You know, yeah, it's like a mad scramble on LinkedIn, isn't it? And then trying to find a photograph and trying to find a bio, and then find out the guy hasn't updated his photograph and bio for 20 years, but nobody knew. Just shows you nobody actually had met him, had they? You know, so that's just a classic faux pas that we've come synonymous to over the years with the internal workings of the club. And I suppose that kind of falls back on something that Mitch was getting at there. You know, action speaks louder than words. The people behind the scenes, are they really switched on? What are they really all about? I view the role, and I suppose the biggest comparison we can have at the moment is probably he's like the Prime Minister or a government minister, and he's given a portfolio to go out by the let's say he's a government minister. He's given a portfolio to run, and the first people he goes to talk to after turning up at, I don't know, GB News or Sky News or the BBC, and then speaking to some press guys, the next people he goes to are his civil servants. And straight away the civil servants went, "Oh, hey, well, we've had our meeting, so let's make sure he doesn't talk about this and tell him not to talk about that, and let's keep this under the carpet and let's keep this off him." And that's what tends to happen at Newcastle United. I think there are people in the club who would constantly be directing from the sidelines exactly what the CEO should and shouldn't be getting involved in, and I think they try and manipulate it. I think Darren Eales fell for that. It's a case of whether Hopkinson is bright enough, savvy enough, and brave enough to ignore what he's hearing. Because after all, he's coming into a football club that he should know an awful lot about in terms of our history, in terms of where we've been since the takeover, where we were before the takeover. It would have been very, very easy for him to spend the formative months that seems to have passed by since he was obviously offered the job. And let's face it, he waited until the transfer window was open before he actually took his seat, and I don't blame him, because if not, he would have been dragged into the last week or week and a half of a transfer window that at times was toxic and poisonous for Newcastle United, for one reason or another. So I think he's now in the situation where, who does he trust? How does he go about finding that trust? Who does he listen to? Who does he bring in? And I suppose the only way that you can gauge it is if you start bringing your own people in. You start moving people out. You're usually, as a chief executive, you're usually given the rein to bring in your own team underneath you. It's very rare that you would have in an organization a chief executive that would then turn around and just go with, because normally a chief executive of a company comes in because the previous chief executive or incumbent had been failing. So you would be in the situation where you want to go, you know what, I'm going to bring my own team in here. I want it done my way. I don't want it done in exactly the same way as the previous incumbent had done it. I'm a different personality. I'm a different person. This is a different regime. This is a different way that we're going to go about things. And you stamp your authority very, very quickly on the role, but also from behind the scenes, and people understanding exactly what it is he wants of them. So I think he's got a hard task, and he's going to have to be brave, and he's going to have to be strong, and he's going to have to listen to the right people, but more importantly, he's going to have to be savvy enough to make his own mind up. And he's got an awful lot of data that's going to be put in front of him, and he's going to have to sift through it and decide what's the wood, what's the chaff, where we're actually heading here. I hope he's got some really, really good ideas that he can bring from the US, where he spent 20 odd years. Interestingly, he was working in Canada with somebody that, I'm sure a friend of ours from Canada will know very well, because it was his team. He obviously had a very, very short spell in a different guise.
I've had a chat with him about it, mate.
I thought you would. I'll be looking forward to hearing about that. But I think it's what we've got to be wary of is he wasn't running a team as such. He wasn't involved. He was very much a backroom person and running a huge, big sporting organization in America. Slightly different from running a football club, I think. I think it'd be also interesting if he's got any thoughts on the direction of the women's team, because obviously from an American perspective, the women's football has grown exponentially, and I think that's something Newcastle United were trying to do under Amanda. Seemed to stall a little bit last season. I think they were hoping they would get promoted and didn't, but they seem to have gone all out with signings this season. So it'll be interesting to see how the women's team progress as well. But obviously, and I don't mean this disparagingly, but my main interest is in the men's team, and it's in where we are and how we progress as a football club, mainly because that's where the history is, and that's where my knowledge base and my sound, how can I put it, opinion, viewpoint, and direction is channeled. But it could be great for the women's team and those who follow the women's team as well, because he might have some very interesting thoughts on how they move as well. So, but his main gist as the CEO now is to get the club operating the way that he wants it to operate, not the way that the people inside have tried to operate it for not just the last 4 years, but the previous 14 years when they had Mike Ashley. I think they've had 18 years, and I don't think there is anything really in the back room at Newcastle United that you can honestly say is operating better than it did 14 years ago or 20 years ago. So this is what will make the football club so much better if he can get it right off the field as well as on.
Yeah, and we've lost Jan from the ticket office as well. So the ticket
Yes.
office, of course, we'll get to that in due course. But yeah, we've lost Jan. Big blow. What's your feelings about the new chief executive then, Joe? I mean, I think me and you are more football orientated than what's going on behind the scenes. Like, but you still have you'll still have an opinion on it.
I hope he can play centre forward. That's what I was thinking. I tell you what, I mean, as expected, I guess he's certainly saying all the right things, Steve. Publicly, obviously, as you mentioned, he's reaching out to people who have struggled to be reached out to, I guess. And I was really impressed with the CV. And I think what it got me thinking was he is another step towards us being the number one that Yasser Al-Rumayyan promised us that we would be. Businesses are built in stages, and I think Amanda and Merdad, we had the takeover, we cleared the decks, we stayed up. Darren Eales then turned up and took us to the next phase, which was signing some better footballers, starting to get some of the right people in and around the club and some of the departments functioning better. And of course, we got to win a trophy. Darren stepped down, and now here we are with a guy who I'm led to believe has just worked magic across multiple sports. And you don't get to be the head of departments at clubs like Real Madrid, who are the world's #1 football club, if you're an imbecile. And now he works for Newcastle United. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a fantastic appointment. I was really, my eyes were tuned into the bits around his commercial acumen. And one thing we've been rather critical of on this show is are we doing enough kind of commercially, particularly with the sponsorship opportunities that we've got. We've now got a guy in that's made a living, on other people making livings out of fantastic deals. So I'm excited by it. I think he said he's a doer. He said he's an excitable guy. He likes to get excited. I think Eddie Howe made a comment today around his enthusiasm and the big smile on his face. Maybe that's what we need now. But I tell you what, Mitch was absolutely right. Let's see it. So are we getting a new badge? Yes or no? Are we getting a new stadium? Yes or no? Are we buying a training ground? Are we not? What are we doing? And I think these are the decisions that will actually make us go, wow, we've now got somebody who's running the football club day to day, not afraid to make decisions, doesn't have to wait 3 months for Yasser Al-Rumayyan to come in. This is what we're doing. This is the direction we're going in. And if he can get Peter Silverstone's finger out of his bum, we're onto a winner. So I'm looking forward to it, Steve. I think, next level, we've signed some next level footballers. Yes, we've lost one, but, the team has progressed. And now we've signed a next level chief executive as well. So let's get a next level director of football in, one that's going to last longer than 3 weeks. And on we go. So yeah, let's start getting excited.
Can you just confirm, Joe, that you meant Peter Silverstone's finger up his own bum? Not
his own, Steve. Yeah, his own. Yeah. Just in case. If Ofcom are watching, his own, yes.
Yeah. Any wrestling matters, don't take any dear me. We've got nothing to do with fingers up bums, lads. Anyway, moving on, George. It only happens to me when the toilet paper is cheap. George, to you.
Yeah.
The lads, I knew you'd like that one. What's your thoughts on David Hopkins?
Well, encouraged, should I say. I mean, the important thing for me is that I know the same Canadian bloke that Steve and our Neil are talking about, and the club that they were both at. Community means a lot in that club. Community means a lot in all the places this bloke's been. And I can't help but notice that in his nice words in his letter, he uses community as much as he does any other word to describe the fans and all the rest of it. So I'm encouraged with that bit, and he's that letter and his general appearance, apart from the 20-year-old picture, which I find amazing that people immediately jump on that, is trying to kick the fella down because he's got this old picture. I find that, well, it's just typical Newcastle, isn't it? Yeah, he's just encouraging to me that he fits what his CV says at the moment. I know it's very early. However, I would say I'm not as enthusiastic as you are about the Al Walid thing. However, he's got a computer and he's got an email, and he sees an email from Saudi Arabia where his bloody boss lives. He's going to answer that one, isn't he? Oh, wouldn't you? I certainly would. I would make sure that was a happy one. I don't want somebody over there whispering in my boss's ear that I've ignored that already. So yes, well done, but it's
there's plenty of people at the club ignore Al Walid, though.
yes,
There is.
yes, that's right. But because the in the cocoon that can call it the Ashley cocoon, so they think they're protected, and that's the other issue I'm with the lads, is that all of that's got to be sorted out. But I'm hugely encouraged by his start, by the words. And the very fact that he didn't even mention bloody Bladen races, never mind try and sing it. So that's a 1,000% forward to a last CEO. And if he manages to get through the first year without getting on the stage in the stack and singing Bladen races, he'd get a pay rise off me anytime. So no, I'm encouraged, and it looks very, very, very positive from the outset. But again, the lads have said it all. We need to see real action. We need to see things going the fans' way. You all know how passionate I've been about this takeover, but there's one area where I feel hugely disappointed, and that's the interaction, real interaction with the fans, real getting things done, and some of I'll not go into tickets because we're obviously going to talk about that later. But there's all sorts of things in the background for fans I would have liked to have seen done and haven't even been touched. In fact, some of them actually got worse. So encouraged by his performance so far, and as I said, it encourages me. I could see the CV and see the man and read in the CV what he was putting in that letter, because it's what he's done everywhere he's been, including Real Madrid. Engaged with the community, not just the football club, and that is really amazing. And if he can continue that, then he gets my vote all the time. And so much more to do, and so he looks like a workaholic as well. It sounds like he's one of these people who doesn't go home, but he makes sure that his inventory is empty, and that's another good sign. So encourage Steve is all I'd say. But let's get a bloke time to get his feet under the table and start doing things, and then we can judge it in reality. I don't want to go on too long, but Steve will tell you, I have a laugh when we go to the Irish Centre before the match, because some of the complaints you hear of fans in there before the match are the same bloody complaints we used to hear before we went to the match when Ashley was in charge. They haven't changed, exactly the same. So please, let's get that underway, Mr. CEO. Let's see some action.
Yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat. I did notice there was a little bit of tete-a-tete going on, but please, keep it clean in the chat. We can all disagree on things, but when it's about a bit of sense of humour, let's just move on. I've got enough to do on a Friday night without having to manage the chat. Thank you. I notice most of you have calmed down now, so that's good. Chipman, thanks for that. He said, breaking news: Chelsea found guilty of 74 charges, which means Everton get a 10-point deduction. Very good, Chipman. Very good. I think it's time to lighten the mood a bit, certainly in the chat. As always, the disclaimer is as follows. NUFC matters do not condone any of these tweets. We do not agree with any of these tweets. None of these tweets are from us as individuals, but it's from our kind viewers. They've sent them in for us to put on the screen and for us to have a laugh at. So if you're woke and you don't want to be upset or offended, please leave now. This is your warning.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Some excellent signs, but let's start with a couple of these just to get you warmed up. Never lose your glasses again. This is a great tip, isn't it? Fantastic. I'm hoping it's in James's Park tomorrow. I see lots of people trying that out. This one's a great name, Dr. Wet Farts. Excellent. And a wonderful Star Wars one, a new one. I've not seen this one before. What's wrong, babe? You barely touched your avocado toast.
Hey.
That's excellent, that. You've been trying that now. I see Mitch trying that tonight. And did everyone get the alarm on the phone going off?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. Like in the UK,
No,
obviously.
I just got the one that Stu sent us.
Yeah, there's a bloody alarm when Stu comes, yes. Well, anyway, there was an alarm went off. Thoughts and prayers to all those in UK prisons who had a mobile phone to create up their backside at 3 o'clock on the day. Yeah, well, it was bound to happen sooner or later, lads.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh,
And here's a new toy. Christmas is on its way. My shaved beaver. Probably wouldn't buy that for your kids. The small independent family tax firm used by Angela Rayner came forward this week. Yeah, we told her no income tax, no VAT, no money back, no stamp duty.
Brilliant.
Good, thank you for that. We've said that a few times. A great hotel suggestion for Leverkusen for the Champions League. Hotel restaurant Fook.
yeah.
Yes.
Fook is the way to pronounce that, by the way.
I didn't think it was,
No.
mate. I didn't think it was. And due to unforeseen circumstances, the dining room will be closed this evening. Sorry for the inconvenience. Open for takeout and delivery only. Hopefully not the circumcises. This is a good one as well. Mississippi's literacy program shows improvement. Fantastic. And safety warning, opening this box will result in death by electrocution and a €50 fine.
Oh.
I don't know who's going to pay that. Left in the will.
There you go.
Fancy some cock soup, lads? Not for me, like. And cock polishing services available as well.
Oh.
Oh.
I hope you can see your face in it afterwards.
You probably can. Warning, these brownies are for shits and giggles. Some have laxative and some have pot. Eat one, give it 30 minutes, you'll know which is which. I tell you what, these Macmillan cake days are getting a bit lively. And warning, this van is being driven by a blind man.
Yeah.
Good advertising, though. It's good advertising. And I'd hate to be the receptionist who answers the telephone calls here. Yeah, exactly. Not everyone will get this, lads. Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Very good. Good singing one. This is another Chinese restaurant in America. Thanks, Jimmy. We not see your cat. Stop asking. Try our chicken. It's perfect. Notice I didn't do an accent because, of course, you can't do that anymore. And in case of fire, please leave the building before posting it on social media. Now, that is good. That is very good. And yes, this was an advert sent in by one of our viewers. I think that's excellent about it just has it's got the cross through Isaac's shirt, and this was on the day that he left the club to advertise a particular brand. So they were quick off the mark and got that done. So thank you for that. Why shouldn't you wear Russian Y-fronts? Because Chernobyl fallout.
Oh, go.
Technically, it's in Ukraine.
Oh. And obeying signs can be time-consuming, lads.
Oh.
And here's Dick Strong. He's an attorney at law.
UI Dick.
DUI Dick.
Yes, very good. And I started dating a weather girl. It's nice to have a woman that's wrong most of the time. And I ran twice today. First I ran out of beer, then I ran to get some more. Didn't you, Mitch?
Yay.
Very good.
Another Star Wars one. Ultini. Very good. I like it. And Grandma once said, sometimes you have to hug someone you don't like, so you'll know how big you have to dig the hole in the backyard.
No.
We both felt like that. And I've got a seashell tattooed on my inner thigh, this lady says. Put your ear to it, you can smell the ocean.
Jesus.
And enjoy the benefits, lads, of a cordless massager. Beauty is more than skin deep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Volvo, in that part of the girls who are. When I first got that, I thought it was a Steve Hasty lookalike. Linda Fawn's Jolly Genius Alan Hull story is. I just wanted to give this a bit of a plug as well. I watched this after doing Talk of the Tune with Sid. Honestly, if you haven't watched it and you're a Geordie, give it a watch. Absolutely brilliant on the BBC iPlayer. Thank you to Sid for recommending it. Absolutely superb, that, lads.
It is. It's really good.
If you haven't seen it already. This one, Calvin Rickson, an engineer from Texas University, has designed a bra that keeps women's breasts from jiggling, bouncing up and down, and it stops nipples from pushing through the fabric when cold weather sets in. After a news conference announcing the invention, a large group of men took Mr. Rickson outside and kicked the actual out of him.
I'm just going to say, I hope to sack them.
Really, ma'am? And a couple of names, lads. We do like these ones. Keep them coming. Conan the Barbarian.
Oh.
And I love this one. The Ketchup Boys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Excellent, that is really good. Love a bit of Winnie the Pooh. So what's this full English thing you want me to be part of, says Piglet. And my husband and I decided never to go to bed angry at each other. We've been awake since Tuesday.
Yes.
And Himanshu said, Alexander Isak will not be allowed to use Newcastle United's training facilities when he falls out with Liverpool in 3 years. Thanks, Stuart, for pointing that one out. My ability to remember song lyrics from the 80s far exceed my ability to remember why I walked into the kitchen. I think we can all compare to that. Yes, definitely. And next week, lads, is Diarrhea Awareness Week. It runs until Friday.
Oh, dear.
And I was praising Five Guys before it was a restaurant.
For fuck's sakes.
If you've got any tweets of the week, don't forget you can email us now at nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com. It goes through a strict procedure of vetting, as you can tell. Believe you me, some of those that we haven't included tonight would have got the channel shut down. But again, the disclaimer, they've got absolutely F all to do with me. The Alan Hall story is superb, says Mother. It is superb. Okay, we've had a little bit of a break with Tweet of the Week. We're nearly halfway through the show. I'll play the ads so the lads can go out and get a quick drink, etc. Back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Okay, welcome back to the Three Amigos. Don't forget the fanzine. We've got 2 left now. I think somebody's just subscribed tonight, which is great. Thank you for doing that. £25, 4 issues. All proceeds go to Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. We're only going to do 100 this year. There wasn't a huge demand this year, but 100 was the target once we realised it wasn't selling as many, and 100's great, because that means we'll probably be able to give in the region of £2,000. I need to work it out once the postage goes up. Need to get the first issue weight, get the postage on it, and then I'll be able to give you a final amount when it comes in. But at the moment, great. Obviously, Beverly from UGT has paid for the sponsorship. Big thanks to Penny Print as well, who've agreed to print 4 fanzines for £360, which means that we've got 140 over the top of on Beverly's money, which means that can go towards some of the postage, meaning more money for Age UK. So great news. Thanks to everybody who supported it. 2 more left. Come on, there's got to be somebody. There's 950 of you watching tonight. There's got to be 2 people out there who can go to the website, nufc.co.uk, nufcmatters.co.uk, and purchase the last 2. Please do if you can. Okay, I did promise, those of you who go to the website and become a member, the lifelong member, the £25 member. It's been a while because Johnny Allen left the show. He had a lot of personal issues, and he was running the website. We set the new website up. We haven't had time to do the monthly draw. I did promise we'd bring it back. So here it is. I did say that we'd give you something a little bit different. So, entertainers program. I've got quite a few programs signed by legends. That's going to be the prize each month. I'll post these out from the office, and it's signed by Johnny Beresford, that one. So the winner is member 250. Now I've got to go through the book to find out who that is, but I'm not far off the 250 mark. Mr. P. Oxley. So, Mr. P. Oxley, congratulations. I think you're a subscriber to the fanzine, actually. Please send your address to there, nufcmatters1892@gmail.com, and I will post that out to you on Monday. But well done, we have a winner. Just to avoid confusion, I think there'll be a lot of people thinking, all right, so if I'm a member on YouTube, that I'm in this draw. No, you have to go to nufcmatters.co.uk and pay the £25 for the pen, etc., that's in the ads. That is what you get for that. You who subscribe on YouTube and pay your membership, you're just doing it to support us, which is great. But thank you very much, everybody, and I'll do another one next month. Okay, let us move on swiftly. Let's talk the new stadium. Mitch, we haven't really got an answer. Interesting article which we all read today that Steve Hasty circulated to you, me, and Stu. Brilliantly written again by Mark. Mark Douglas has always been one of my favourite journalists, by the way. He's not one of these who has to have a YouTube channel, etc. He doesn't crave that kind of attention. He just gets on and does his job professionally. But it was wonderfully written, and we're no further forward. But I think what we've been trying to suggest on here is that we don't need to panic. It's still going ahead in some way, shape or form. Lots is going on behind the scenes, but there isn't really a concrete answer yet, Mitch, on what we're going to do. And the feeling that we've had all along is what Mark's really written about today, which is that there's probably an insistence on on the owner's behalf, on PIF's behalf, to have a bigger stadium that's been suggested. We thought this for a while, but it was nice to see somebody putting it in print, and it sounds as if we're having a bit closer, Mitch.
Yeah, and another thing I would counsel people on, if you want to look at what happens with super projects in this region, they'll come out and say, here's the line. We're going to do 100 kilometres of a narrow, tall city with all sorts in it. And by the time it gets built, it's about 40 kilometres, if you're lucky. And the project gets scaled back. Similarly, if we produced a stadium that looked great at 65,000, looking at Wembley and looking at winning the Carabao Cup and looking at the reaction of the region, getting 300,000 people out on a parade, and then that goes back to Saudi and the people who want to build super stadia for World Cup projects and everything else, and then they're going to go bigger. We want better. We want a statement. And so I think there's a lot of things to come to terms with there. And the other thing I keep coming back to, it's not about the intention of the owners. It's not about Newcastle United. We have partners that we have to work with that I have absolutely zero trust in, like the City Council, who will have people on their shoulder trying to throw spanners in certain works all the way along the way. People who are absolutely obsessed with being on the right side of whatever is seen moral at this particular moment in time. And they'll chuck stuff in the way and spanners in the works. But I think we're trying to balance two things, with both of which could affect how that works. And that's why I don't want a daily update on where the stadium's at. I want an update when we are at a point where we can say, this is where we're at, this is what we're going to do, and this is where it's going to be, and this is what we've agreed with this body and that body and that body, and we're going to go forward on this plan together. I do think our owners, ironically, when people are saying, oh, does it show that they're not really interested anymore? I think they're far more interested than people realise. And probably in some respects, there's aspects of our ownership who are holding these decisions back because they want bigger, they want better, they want more. And where do we go with that? And where does the common ground eventually land? And I just genuinely think that's where we're at the moment. And I think Mark's article articulates all of that and a little bit more if you read between the lines.
What's your feelings, then, Steve, on this? I mean, I'm not sure whether, my feelings on having, a stadium of 80,000 or 80,000 plus, I would say. I'm not even sure I would fill that. But, I mean, it's amazing to think that that's where they're looking or that's where they're going. But, again, I mean, it's all pie in the sky in the minute.
Yeah, but I think what you have to do, you have to look at it all in the round. I think, Mitch is right. The article that Mark put out kind of lays the groundwork for an awful lot of thought that's been passing around. But look at where football is going in general, Steve. Look at where football's come from and where it's heading. You've got the World Cup in 2034, which will be impacting the decision-making process with our owners. That's always at the back of their mind. Newcastle United could well find themselves in the next 9 years being the football club that showcases the World Cup. That we could be the forerunners, if you like, for what people will get in 2034 when they go over to Saudi for the World Cup. So in 9 years' time, people could be turning up at a stadium at St James's Park or near St James's Park that sums up exactly what and where football stadiums are, the modern football stadiums are We know that they're going to. We've seen some of the designs, for example, for what's happening in the World Cup. Some of those stadiums are out of this world, and I think we will be an out of this world stadium. There's no question about that, because I think we will showcase it. But it's the other situation. The other side is, there are people who are ringing the death knell on football for one reason or another at the moment. We talk about, where football's been, where football is heading, and we don't like change and this type of thing. And I suppose in one breath, I'm one of those people myself. But the reality is, football has grown like it's never has done in the past. It's skyrocketing. The popularity of football is phenomenal. TV and then social media and the new ways of being able to watch football are moving football into the stratosphere. The amount of money that's swirling around will only get more and more. From our point of view, we look at it from the other aspect, and we look at how expensive it's going to become to watch it, and that's all we're worried about. That I think we're all delighted to have a successful football club. We'll be delighted to have the best ground in the world and all this type of thing. But our gripe will always be, but I want to be able to afford to get into the ground. I want to be able to afford, I want to carry on with my season ticket, etc., etc. So it's the fear of change, I suppose. But football is more popular now than it ever has been. It's grown like it never has, and it's changing and it's evolving. And I think you look at the Saudis, you look at PIF, and you look at Mr. Al Ramayan, and I'll take you back to what I said to you guys many, many months ago, which was, I think it was back in February, March, where we said, look, he's stalling on this. He's stalling on it simply because the designs that have been presented, although they look good, are not good enough. He wants to move on. He wants to challenge the designers. He wants to challenge the architects, and he wants to challenge the football authorities and the councils and say, look, we want the biggest, we want the best, we want the shiniest, and he wants something that's utterly spectacular. Obviously, he's got people within an organisation that are going, yeah, but can we fill it? And he's going, well, I want the football team that will fill it as well. So there's all this stuff being juggled. I think Newcastle United will end up with something in the region of 90,000 seater stadium. And I think that you'll find that at some point in time, Arsenal will be increasing the capacity of their stadium. We know that Old Trafford's going to go to 90,000 with their new stadium, whatever it gets called. Tottenham already on 60-odd thousand. I think you look at the way that and the space that they've got, you can see Everton in 20 years' time wanting to add another tier onto theirs. Football is just going up and up and up. Stadiums and demand. And as long as we can get in and, our families can get in and we can watch the games and we're not going to be priced out of it, then I think that's the target for Newcastle as well. With the stadium comes a 24/7, 365-day a year usage, and that's something that the city is going to have to get used to. It's something that we're going to have to really get our heads around in terms of what's used. I mean, gone are the days of just having a ground that's used, once a fortnight, and after that just becomes like a almost a mausoleum. So I think Mark hit an awful lot of good points in his article. I think he's spent a lot of time and a lot of thought, and I think he's pitched it and got it absolutely spot on.
85,000, 90,000, Joe, is people are saying in the chat as well it would be used for boxing and other things. I mean, I guess if you're gonna aim for that kind of size, some people are saying you can easily there's ways of building stadiums and being able to shut parts off when it's not going to be that busy. But it's stuff that dreams are made of, having a stadium that big, I guess.
It was better when we had 13,000 and we were crap. I mean, modern architecture, Steve. I mean, you only have to look round the planet, don't you, for what's being designed, what's being built. You are literally talking about space age stuff. So, yeah, I mean, who knows where the ceiling is with the football club? I guess this is what we're talking about now, aren't we? And we've gone from, do we actually need to leave St. James's Park? Surely 52 is enough until we start winning trophies. But as we said earlier, you know, not only have you got one of the globe's biggest companies behind you, you know, you're now putting people on the board with similar ambitions and similar kind of foresight into what we should be doing and how big we should be going. So you know, if you build it, they will come. You know, as the saying goes. Would it be used for everything and anything? Yeah, of course. And wouldn't it be great? I mean, there's a stadium just down the road from St. James's Park, or just up the road from me. You know, they have some of the world's biggest artists in there, and wouldn't that be nice to be coming to St. James's Park? You know, and it's good for the city. You know, it's good for the coffers, and it puts us further and further on the global map, doesn't it? You know, you get global sporting events, and the globe watches, or you know, the world's biggest rock stars or whatever. So yeah, it's the way it's going. We're just going to have to go with it, I think. I don't think we've got a choice in the matter. I don't think we ever really had a choice in the matter once the owners, you know, got hold of the club. I guess the $1 million question, though, is always going to be where are we actually putting this thing? And until some clever designers or some clever council planners and all the rest of it come up and say, actually, that will fit there and this is what it's going to look like. Let's you know, let's dare the dream. So I'm looking forward to it. The only thing I don't want is for somebody to say it won't possibly fit in Newcastle City Centre and we're going to have to move it to Ponteland somewhere or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I don't want, just because it's a bit further for me to go. That's all. But let's get it right. Let's do it properly. And you know what? If we can get 80,000, just build it. Why not?
Yeah, George, no real news about the stadium, but it's always worth discussing because I think for the last 3 or 4 months, people have been asking, is there any update on the stadium? Any update on the training ground? We've just basically been told there's news. No news is good news, I guess, but there's no decision yet.
Well, no, but that article plus what the lads have been talking about tonight has been good for me because I've been sitting here for the last 2 months saying, when people were saying, oh, the planning's blocking it and this sort of thing, and I've constantly been saying, it's not the planning. It's the people in Saudi Arabia who hold it up because they want the best. Our chairman wants us to be number one. He wants our stadium to be number one. And when he was here a couple of weeks ago, he just had a short sentence about the stadium, which nobody seemed to pick up, much to my frustration, when he just glibly said, well, let's redevelop St. James's Park and make it 95,000. They were his words. And you know, and I think that's where we are. They want everything to be the best, not just the team. They want our stadium to be the best. And yeah, the other issue that gets me is the Corn Fillet syndrome. My goodness, if you can develop stadiums, you can shut things off. Why shut things off? Why not manufacture a way of getting the stadium filled by involving local youth clubs, local schools, and the community in a wider sense than just those that happen to have the privilege, like I have, of a season ticket. So it's all still quite exciting to me, and I would not be surprised at all if we end up with a stadium of over 90,000, because I'm firmly convinced that that's what our owners are waiting for, to get a design that makes the stadium number one, not just the team, everything. And the opportunities. I mean, the other side of it is, of course, we're talking about other sports. Could some of the big boxing that happens in Saudi Arabia now happen at St. James's Park? I'll bet it would. And lots of other things that happen elsewhere could suddenly start happening at St. James's Park. So yeah, and my guess is it's going to be 24/7 availability. So I expect the great cavernous voids that we've got at St. James's Park that do absolutely nothing now. You'll suddenly find in a new stadium, you've got squash clubs, you've got badminton clubs, you've got tennis clubs, all happening at the same time, and the place will be buzzing, and all that revenue will come eventually to the benefit of football. So yeah, I'm still very, very looking forward to what the future is going to bring. and not just in terms of the team, but in terms of the stadium as well. And I've got just as much enthusiasm for my team and what's happening now, coming up to 80 years as a supporter. It's just I can't wait. Is the answer? I can't wait, because I do really think that the chairman's number one thing isn't just about the team; it's about everything, and that's where we'll go.
Okay, I'll tell you where we're going next. Tickets. And it starts with an email from Paul Pearson, a good friend of ours. We know him as Subutio Paul. He produced the wonderful Subutio set of players with and presented them to Malcolm's team, which was great, Supermax team from back in the 70s. So fantastic. But he goes, he sent us an email. Hi, Steve. In light of recent events across social media, I had to put down into words how I feel about it. Call it my therapy, if you will. I know that tickets is a bit of a moot point and generally an avoided topic. But if we are to use social media as a yardstick, it feels like we could be coming to breaking point. The recent reaction to the distribution of tickets for the Barcelona game has caused a mass head loss, and we are surely at a point now where the club need to start addressing things. I've been a Newcastle fan for 40 years, born and bred in Southampton to a Geordie father, so black and white has always been in my DNA. We weren't well off, and in my youth we never made the trip north, as despite working all hours, my dad never had the money to afford it. In my late teens and into adulthood, I always managed to get to aways down south, plus a few homes now and again under my own steam, but was never a season ticket holder or a regular, because providing for my family always came first. Entering my 40s, things changed for me financially, and I could travel up north more often, as well as attending down south that I always had. Over the past few seasons, this has become a lot more difficult. I can still get to some aways, but due to having zero record of any points, I believe Mitch can relate to this, I have to suffer going in with the home fans. As for home tickets, well, they're as rare as hen's teeth, and this ridiculous ballot lottery system has made it even more difficult to get a seat. I've recently turned 50, and I'm at the point now where, although I'm not happy about it, I've made my peace with the fact that it's unlikely I'll get to St James's Park any time in the future, unless I pay hundreds or even thousands of pounds for the privilege. To this end, I've binned off the membership this season, as it's a complete waste of money, and I'd rather put my money into the club via replica shirts and Trefoil logo merchandise. I say it's a waste of money due to the fact that there's regularly over 100,000 people in the queue for tickets, and then see loads available on resale sites. Logging in on multiple devices can be stopped. Ticketmaster manager, why can't the club? They can also stop the bot accounts, but seem reluctant to do so. I can go online right now and purchase tickets for any match this season, albeit at an inflated price. How is that possible if the club know nothing about tickets on sale on these sites? Well, a simple answer is that they do know, but seem to want to continue pissing on our backs and telling us it's raining. The latest cause of head loss is the Barcelona tickets being allocated to a school in Dundee. If they were going to local schools, I don't think the outrage would be as bad. But what's got on people's goats is the fact that it's a Scottish school. It's for Barcelona, and in the post, the school state the term "as usual," which you'd interpret as "this is happening on a regular basis." I've personally no issue with this kind of initiative, as kids are the future of the game and the fan base. But doing it for Barcelona in the Champions League has really struck in the craw of tickless fans. Surely this kind of thing could be reserved for early Carabao Cup or FA Cup rounds. I see that the NUFC have said they'll raise it with the club, and let's be honest, they're only ever in it for themselves. And as long as they continue with the "I'm all right, Jack" attitude, they'll remain a waste of space. Plus, many believe they're the reason we're in this mess in the first place. Certain people from NUST, a certain podcast, have had the clubs here for far too long, and it needs to stop. I know that NUST say they represent their members for a couple of quid per year, but you may as well spend the cash on a couple of bags of Haribo, because you'll get more out of it. As for the FAB, they'll be too busy booking their flights and hotels for their jolly to PSG away to care about the issues the real fans have. What an absolute load of pony that initiative is. Box ticking at its finest. What's the solution? In my opinion, the lip service needs to stop, and there needs to be proper dialogue between the fans and the club. They can hold an open meeting, let the fans rip them a new one and sit there and take the medicine. I know they can't get 52,000 in a room, but surely they can open something up to season ticket holders and members on a first come, first served basis in a local venue and be accountable. None of this selective online crap with leading questions. Far too often, the real black and white bleeding matchday fan is not heard. We all need our voices and opinions to be heard. Otherwise, we will continue to be stuck in this continuous loop where nothing changes other than the cost of a ticket, if you can get one. Opinions about NUFC and FAP are my own. I do not claim them to be those of NUFC Matters, not in public anyway. Thank you for taking the time to read my email rant. If I read out, I look forward to hearing the Amigos' thoughts. Kind regards, Paul Pearson. Thank you, Paul. Mitch, very honest email from Paul.
Okay, let's talk honestly. Let's talk honestly. I've said on here before, as a fan of a certain vintage, I feel less welcome and less appreciated as a fan than ever before. There has been, from the Ashley era, a movement within people who have been in place since the Ashley era to gentrify the fan base. What better way to gentrify the fan base than to offer tickets to 20k a year schools? What's always bugged me here, these tickets have been going to schools like this for a long time. This is not a new thing. It's not the first time that school has had tickets. Read the letter. Again, we have ... And yet, I could name loads of schools that have those school fees plus within the Northeast. And if you want to challenge us on that, my eldest and my middle one went to two of those schools. And I paid those school fees when I lived in the northeast of England. My eldest went to Westfield School for Girls. My middle one went to Mordenhall Prep School. And I paid those school fees. And believe you me, when we came to Dubai, the school fees I was paying in Dubai was a blessed relief because it was less than all I was paying in Newcastle. Yet why should those tickets go to a school in Dundee and another school in Edinburgh and another one in Yorkshire, by the way? And the people who sit around those tickets will tell you they've seen those guys come in their school uniforms, in their school tracksuits as a group, and that's fine. But why not in the Northeast? Why outside? That was my first problem with this. My next problem with this is, if anything, should help people understand the use of a semicolon. We have cancelled these tickets for a school in Dundee, semicolon. We have also cancelled 45 tickets from season ticket holders who've been given tickets to sites and reselling sites. It's two different arguments. We've been asking the club, and we've been asking supporter services particularly, to tackle this for a long, long time. Not just us, not just the trust. And I've got to say, I'll back the trust on this one. They've been asking these questions. Everybody knows my issues with certain things, but I'll back them on this one. They've been asking this question for a couple of years, right? The fact that you've cancelled 45 season tickets does not equate to cancelling these tickets for the school, because it doesn't add up. Something stinks here for me. And what stinks is a cover-up. Somebody's covering their arse. Those tickets have been coming from within the club for a long, long time. We know it has. It goes back to the Ashley era. It goes back to the people who see us as a certain certain part of the fan base as a threat, not as part of the solution. And going forward, I don't know how we work this one out. Because I'm telling you now, if there's been 45 supporters who've had their season tickets cancelled, if you go off the amount of messages I get off of people every day, every week, is having this platform. This platform blesses me with an ability to reach out to people and to be reached out to. And anybody who's emailed me, who's DM'd me on social media, who's reached out to me will tell you, I will answer anything, even if I disagree with you vehemently. I'll still interact with you. I'll still be positive with you, because you know what? We're only ever going to solve some of these problems by discourse. Because at the end of the day, we all want Newcastle United to be a better thing, on the pitch, off the pitch, in every way we can. There's not a single person reached out to me saying, I've had my season ticket cancelled and I don't agree with this. So when I see we've cancelled these tickets with a Dundee school and we've also cancelled 45 season tickets from people, somebody in the club's trying to make a double win out of this.
Yeah.
And they're trying to cover their arse. I'm sorry. Yes, great that you've cancelled 45 tickets, because we know, because so many people have been telling you that you've been getting people who've been picking up tickets on from you directly on the ballot and then putting it straight onto social media and straight on the ticket seller sites. Great. If that's 45, take it down. But I'm telling you now, they're not 45 proper fans. That'll be 45 touts with a bot who've been able to get in, being able to get a half-season ticket when Ashley was doing the sell, whatever. Great that you've shut that down and take the praise for that. But don't conflate it with this thing with the club, with the school in Dundee. That's bullshit. And it stinks. And it sounds to me and it reads to me like somebody who's covering their arse. Don't view me and Steve as a problem. All we want is the betterment in Newcastle United. Don't go to Darren Curry and everybody at NUFC and dismiss them, because you do. Because you see them as a threat. But they're not a threat. They should be part of your solution. And it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. This whole thing, the way they've released it, and there's certain people are echoing that. Why are you echoing that? Is that because you've been told by the club to do that? And if that's the case, you need to stand down as well and own it. We have gone to the far ends of trying to work out where some of the problems with ticketing come from. It's not right that so many tickets end up on reseller sites within minutes of things going on sale. That's rubbish. You're supposed to have done a root and branch review of it all. And do you know what? If you found 45, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Call it out. But I tell you what, they're not 45 individuals who are Newcastle United fans, because not a single person's reached out to me and said, I've lost my season ticket and I'm not happy about it. Because I'm telling you right now, if that was 45 fans who'd had season tickets taken off them, somebody somewhere, given the amount of interaction I have with the fan base, the amount of bloody emails and DMs and all sorts I get every day, what you've done is you've caught the bots, you've caught the people, you've caught the right people. Brilliant, well done. But now you're trying to conflate it with this whole schools thing, which we know has been going on for years. Anybody who sits in that part of the ground will tell you that there's groups of kids come and there's groups of schools come, same tracksuits, same wearing this and same doing that, and they're not from the region. And that used to piss me off, mainly because I had my kids going to schools who had 20k plus a year school fees in the region. You could have gone to Mordenhall, you could have gone to Newcastle School for Boys, you could have gone to RGS, you could have gone to King's, you could have gone to Durham School. There's loads of schools on the doorstep you could have gone to. But why did you go to Dundee? Why did you go to Edinburgh? Why did you go to Yorkshire? That doesn't make sense. Gentrify the fan base as much as you like. Bring those groups in. Guess what? Some of the idiots like me that you want rid of have climbed the social ladder to the point where we can send our kids to those schools. Don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining. Don't take that away from me, and don't take that away from my children and my legacy. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And then hiding behind it now and conflating the two things together to make it look like you've scored a win. No, you've not scored a win. What you've done is you've embarrassed yourselves again. And I know what the connection is, and I know where supporter services links to the foundation, and it's not terribly hard to work out. And yet they're the same people who will piss on us and tell the world that we're a problem. Would be your biggest supporters, and we're the biggest part of your solution if you want to reach out, but you can't. Why? Because you're stuck in that Ashley vibe. You're stuck in that Ashley era where the fans are a problem. The fans are not part of the solution. The fans are something to be pushed back against and gentrified, and that's wrong.
Well said, Mitch. I agree with your sentiment. And, you know, as always, it's a rant, but it's a well-placed rant. Follows on nicely from Mr. Pearson's email. Steve, what have you got to add?
You know what? Paul's email was simply echoing years and years of grief that he and many, many other fans have encountered and come across and feel aggrieved with regarding ticketing. And it's come to a head. It's come to a head on the most unusual of circumstances, I must say. Wrapped around, 45 kids and helpers getting tickets for probably the biggest game that we've had for God knows how long at home. I'll try and split this up a little bit, Steve. The NUST and FAB criticism, that's self-fulfilling. And I've talked about it a couple of months ago on this platform, and it's also, in my opinion, self-inflicted. Why? Because I feel as though the current NUST has, over the last probably since the takeover, so you're going back 3.5, nearly 4 years now, has created a divide among the fan base simply by ignoring the wider fan base. Concentrating on its ever-decreasing membership and failing to realise that you're there to represent fans. And in fact, this is where it falls around. You're talking about £1 membership gives you coverage from an organisation, but you're thinking to yourself, you should be representing all the fans, regardless whether it's a member or not. We all have the same issues. We all have the same thought process. We're all encountering the same problems. So, how you're going about it is in my mind, is wrong. I think that the organisation would have been far, far better if it was open, and if it, regardless of whether you're a member or not, it's almost like, turned into the AA, you break down on the motorway and the first thing they ask you is your membership number, and then they say, oh, you're not a member, okay, you'll have to ring somebody else. We're not picking you up. Unless you join a course, in which point they nab you for 70, 80 quid to join, and then they'll come and pick you up and fix your car, or tow you away, or that type of thing. And I think it's wrong to sort of ignore the wider fan base, because you're there actually to represent the fans, not necessarily just to represent your membership. And I think you'd be you'd be respected an awful lot more if you operated in that way. Certainly gain my respect. But the other point is, yes, and Mitch said, you know, I would back NUST in terms of they've been asking these questions about ticketing for quite a number of years. The problem being, of course, that the outcomes to their questions are not the outcomes that the fans wanted. It's gone the other way. You know, they've highlighted a problem, and straight away the club's gone, right, well, we'll slam that door shut then. Yep. Instead of finding a solution, the solution is to you know, blow it up, if you like. There is there's no question, no doubt in my mind that these 45 tickets are a totally different 45 tickets to the ones that the kids have got, right? And the helpers. That's as plain as the nose on your face. And I mean, who in the football club, having seen the issue of 45 tickets, then went, put a statement out and say 45 season ticket holders? Are you honestly telling me that somewhere in the stand there is a row of 45 season ticket holders who have got together and said, right, lads, it's the biggest game going, it's Barcelona, but we can all make 50 quid here if we flog our tickets together to a school up in Scotland? What do you reckon? I've got a mate who's got an email account and we can send them. Is everybody up for it? Did somebody walk along the line and canvass them all at some game and then they all decide to do it? Because that's what is being implied in a way. I mean, how would you organise it any other way? It's just nonsensical. And as far as NUSC is concerned, the supporters club, I would say that NUSC could, in my opinion, do a far, far better job for supporters than supporter services are doing. The NUST, I think, NUSC are the nearest we have to the German model of the independent supporter liaison officer, where if you go to any of the big clubs and you want to get into a game or you have an issue as a supporter, you approach the supporter liaison officer. He's independent. He has a place within the football club, but he has a stick and he has a knife and he has whatever tools are necessary to prod and poke the football club to do what's right for the fans. He has a bit of authority and he has the ability to change what the club is doing on behalf of the fans when they spot something that a football club is doing wrong for the supporters. That's where NUSC could work so much better if they were given that ability, because they can be the critical friend. And we've always said supporters need a critical friend. Football clubs need a critical friend to get them out the malaise, to remove the chaff that's around them, to get them to channel their abilities and their actions in the right way, not the way that they feel as though that is the direction that they personally think the football club should go. That critical friend, that supporter liaison is there to work with the club on the fans' behalf. And I don't think that our fans, supporter, whatever you want to call it, services does that. And as far as gentrifying the football club, the more you gentrify it, the more issues you're going to create among the fan base. Why? Because gentrifying it is simply manufacturing fans. It's manufacturing an outcome that you're looking for. And that's something that our football club doesn't need. We already have a fan base. We do not need a gentrified fan base. Roy Keane told the Manchester United fans 20 years ago about the Brawn Sandwich Brigade, you know, and his grief about the way that it was operating. And you know, Manchester United were the kings of the corporate aspect. But we're not just talking about corporatization. We're talking about gentrification. You know, you're talking about the working man's game being taken away from them for one reason or another. But getting back to the issue of the tickets, it's shambolic, it's predictable, and we know that we have seen this coming for God knows how long. It's just come to a head, and it's come to a head on a game where apparently there were over 110,000 people in the queue for tickets. That's actually, if you think about it, that's the attendance that there was at the new camp before they started to rebuild. You know, that's where they were. I don't believe there was anywhere near 110,000 people in a queue for tickets, but that's for another story and another flam, if you like. But no, it's got to be got a grip of. But it goes back to what we said right at the very beginning when we talked about the new CEO. This is an area that he's got to get a grip of. He's got to understand. He's got to listen. He's got to talk to the lads in NUFC. Yes, he's got to talk to the trust. But he's got to understand what the real problem is. He's got to get into the real problem. He can't just say, "Oh, it's season tickets being sold by people." It's far, far deeper than that. It's far, far deeper. It needs root and branch change. And I suppose you could even say that the way that the e-ticketing system has come about and what it's created and the fear factor that it's put into the fans is another aspect that is totally wrong. We should not have fans that are fearful of holding that ticket or passing that ticket on to somebody because they're not feeling very well at the weekend or they've gone away on a family trip. This business of giving it back to the club and all of that bureaucracy, it shouldn't need to be like that. It should be, it should leave it to the fans. The ground will still be full. The fear of people in the ground, you know, you can, oh, somebody else is there and they cause bother. That's just a misnomer. There's no trouble in football stadiums, and if there is, it's very easily nipped in the bud, and you can easily rectify the situation after the event by holding an inquiry and establishing who it actually was that was sitting in that seat when if somebody had given it up. If those are the type of people that are ever going to cause trouble, but they're not. They're not.
Mother, Steve, I think meant there wasn't genuinely 110,000 or whatever it was in the queue. I think a lot of those would be bots, Mother. I think that was the point that Steve was trying to make. I mean, we know there was, but yeah, I just think you'd seen not genuine people. A couple of things I'll say. Go back to the Footballers Football Show that I was on in 1992-93 season. Newcastle back in the Premier League. Me on a programme with Richard Keys, George Best, and Sir John Hall. And in front of everybody, I asked John Hall why, when I'd been to Man United away the previous weekend, was there somebody standing outside the ground with a book of tickets selling them, yet the game was sold out. This has always gone on. There's always been somebody making a few quid somewhere else. And it needs to be looked at. And that is one of the major jobs that David Hopkinson needs to do. And if any of this sudden release of information about 4,000 members plus being watched at the moment, monitored, and X amount of season tickets being cancelled has got anything to do with, David Hopkinson saying, I want a full inquiry into the club, then so be it. And I think there'll be a few people, who will be concerned about getting caught out, and so there should be, because it is wrong. And I'm seeing lots of comments, I can't go through them all, about people who are very upset at the fact that they shouldn't, that they're not even getting tickets now. They haven't got any tickets. People are cancelling the memberships. They oversubscribed the membership. What they should have said was, how many tickets have we got up for grabs for a membership? And they should have kept it. If there was 10,000, if they put 5,000 or 10,000 aside, they should have sold 5,000 memberships. And what they should have done was, let's say, I don't know, do a draw. And once that draw is done and you've had your tickets and they've had 5,000 people, you give 5,000 other people a chance. But you take the 5,000 out who've been given that chance in the ballot, lottery, whatever you want to call it, and then you give it another. So let's say there's 20,000 members and there's only 5,000 tickets. At least that way, on a regular basis, everyone's going to get a chance. And then it becomes a bit of a fairer system. But you know, we don't know how many memberships there were. Was there 38,000? That was a name, that was a number somebody plucked out the air at one point. If there's 38,000 and there's only 5,000 tickets and you're putting the same people in time and time again, but on the flip side of that, you're giving tickets away to this one, that one, and the other one. You're giving tickets to corporates because they've done this for you or they've done that for you. We know all this kind of stuff goes on. We speak to businesses who benefited from those kind of tickets. They come and openly say to me, "Oh, the club's they wanted this job done and blah blah blah," and you know, it happens. It happens. It needs to be stamped out. It needs to be looked at. Of course, the problem won't go away with the new stadium, but it'll still be there because there will be, believe it or not, in some occasions, people will still be locked out of the ground. But it's never ever going to be solved until we get a new stadium. But you can stop those who are illegally touting tickets, and that's what the club are doing. So well played to them. I'm pleased they're doing it. Let's see what happens. But Joe, your feelings on this?
How do I follow that, Steve? I can't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an opinion, really.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? You know, and there are genuine people out there. There's people paying for these memberships. You know, they're going ballots week after week after week after week, and they're getting, and you know, nowhere near. You're almost paying for a lottery ticket that you're not going to win. I just listen to the guys. You know, listen to the passion. I mean, listen to Neil there. You know, it's such an emotive thing, and I think for me, I sit here in a position of privilege. You know, I've got a season ticket. You know, and I think, wow. How lucky am I to have that? Personally, play by the rules. I'm not at the game again tomorrow. I haven't put it on Viagogo and got £3,000 for it. You know, it goes to a family member that's been signed up as part of the you know, my account, and that's what happens. I do know. I personally know that there are people who are, you know, selling match tickets. I know that there's people who've had season tickets and sold them, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all, because for every person that's lucky enough to get a ticket and then doesn't go to the game and sells it into the ether or to the tout that's always outside Shearer's, you know, or Shearer's statue every week, you're taking away from genuine fans who would love to go and see, you know, Walter Marder's debut. They would love to go and see us repeat Barcelona, you know, on Thursday night, and we cannot get in. So whether it's a school in Dundee, whether it's a robot, whoever it is that you're selling to, it is fundamentally wrong. And but you know, what do the regulators say? What are the rules around this? There's a band that you know, one of my favourite bands that I grew up listening to, have just gone on a world tour after a hiatus. People were offering you tickets for £3,000, and people were buying them. It's absolutely scandalous, Steve. And I think, you know, until the football club, if there are sanctions in place, if there are privileged people with season tickets who are knowingly misusing them, selling them for ridiculous profit to the detriment of fans that want to get in that football club, who are desperate to get in and see the game, you know, they need the tickets taken off them, because somebody who will appreciate it more and someone who will look after it more can have it. So that's my opinion on it. I wish I had the solution. I wish I was allowed to kind of say, do you know what? This is the answer to it, because then I'd get to go and see all the bands that I want to see. I'd get to go to all the theatre shows that I want to see. I'd get all the football games and the England games that I want to see. But I can't, because there's profit to be made. And as long as there's profit to be made and you're allowed to do it, we're going to just keep going round and round this circle. So put a sanction in place, whatever that may be. Take tickets off people and give them to people who look after them. That's my opinion on it.
Well said. George?
I hope you've got another hour. God.
No, you've got 5 minutes, George.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a long 5 minutes. All the clubs done over the last few years, I've said at the beginning, not looking after supporters. And this is the biggie, because not only have they not looked after supporters, some of the schemes that they've put in place have actually turned supporters into bloody criminals. The thing that they do with the away tickets, you know, putting dummy tickets in to try and catch people out, that's entrapment. It's against the bloody law, but they do it and nobody does anything about it. And same with the the ballot. It isn't a ballot. It can't be a ballot because they don't stick to the rules of the ballot. Maybe I should drop a line to the new CEO and remind him he should go down to the local magistrate's court and get a license to run a ballot. But I bet they don't do that. No, it's all absolutely fiddling to suit certain people. It's like that. And as the other one about where the tickets went to a posh school in Dundee. Well, yeah, all right, there are posh schools, as Neil said, around the city. What about the bloody schools that produce Steve Watson and Alan Thompson and Chris Waddle and Glee Clark? Why aren't those schools getting tickets? Because they're not going to get many Alan Shearers out of the posh schools that they're sending the tickets to.
Because they're not the right demographic.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. So the gentrifying thing gets right up my back in a way other things don't. But so do the other things. This issue about the ballot and the faffing on with away tickets. When fans looked after it themselves, it was never an issue. When fans look after themselves, there were very rarely any empty tickets in the away end. Since they start faffing about with the away tickets, there quite often is empty seats in the away end now, I gather. And that's all because of interference of people who want to manufacture what they want, not what the fans want, what they want. So, it's good that they've got hold of, obviously, of some touting tickets, but it needs well, the lads have said it needs a root and branch look, a real look to solve it. And whether they've got the capacity, that I hope our new CEO's got the capacity, because if he hasn't, then they'll continue and they'll fiddle and they'll fiddle and fiddle just to suit themselves.
Well said, lads. I think everybody's made their points, so thank you for that, and thank you to everybody in the chat for making your comments loud and clear. We've only got time really to finish off tonight's action-packed show with a look ahead to Wolves, 3 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. Of course, not many of them around these days, but as always, we'll get the stats from Toonstone.
Hello everyone, Newcastle back in the Premier League tomorrow, looking for the first win of the season. Actually now it's 5 games without a win in the Premier League after we lost to Arsenal and Everton towards the end of last season, and now starting our 3-game winless run in the current season. The last time we were 5 games without a win under Eddie Howe was back in September 22, when actually we went on a run of 6 games without a win, 5 draws and a defeat before we won at Fulham, and we started that famous run towards the Champions League. Now we face Wolverhampton, who have lost all of their 3 games so far this season, and actually never in their entire club's history, 127 seasons, have they started with 4 consecutive defeats. For them it will be making history in a negative way. When it comes to players, actually Wolverhampton signed the Belgian First Division top goal scorer from last season, Tou Arokodare, who is gonna play against Newcastle looking for his first goal in the Premier League. For Newcastle, of course, we expect the debut of Nick Woudemade, Big Nick from the Bundesliga. He scored 5 goals in his last 7 games for Stuttgart, which ranked him among the top scorers in the Bundesliga. Newcastle won last 2 years against Wolverhampton 3-0, with a certain Swedish striker scoring in both of these games. And overall, Newcastle has lost only once in the Premier League at St. James's Park to Wolverhampton back in 2018 when they were managed by Nuno Espirito Santo. Overall in the Premier League, Newcastle has lost only 2 of their 20 games, which is the lowest percentage of defeats for Newcastle against any opposition in the Premier League. Let's see what happens tomorrow, however, lads.
Over to you, Joseph.
Thank you, Stephen. I'll be quick. And actually, the injury listers, I have a list of a load of players that might score tomorrow, and none of them are playing, so I'll get it over with quickly. Newcastle, massive favourites, 4-9 to win the football match. The draw is just over 3-1, and Wolves are a massive 6-1, but they are absolutely pants, so only diehard Wolves fans will be on that. Big Nick is favourite to score any time in the game. He is 11-10 if you think he'll score on his debut. Anthony Elanga's up there, and Big Dan Burn, my bet for the season is 9-1. Strand Larson, there's another one. I'll cross him off. Don't worry about him scoring. Chan is a player that I really like who plays for Wolves. He is 15-4 to score. So 1-0 Newcastle, 6-1, and that's the same if you think it'll be 2-0. And the Penman this week is 11-1. So not a bad shout, actually. 0-0, 12-1, and a KG 1-all is 7-1. Wolves 16-1 to win 1-0, and if you think Wolves will win 2-0, it's 35-1. So they're really not fancied. North East treble tomorrow is 16-1. Couple of tough games, but it's there if you want it. And actually, it'd be remiss of me not to talk about Thursday night. Obviously, we're not favourites to beat Barcelona on Thursday. We are just over 2-1 to win the game, 3-1 for the draw, and Barcelona are even money to win. 3-2, the famous night. If you think we'll win 3-2, it is 20-1. And if you think we'll batter them 4-1 like we did PSG, it is 45-1. Please keep your money safe. Gamble what you can, but get it on Newcastle, because surely, Wisser or no Wisser, we're going to win.
Good stuff, thank you. Okay, Mitch, over to you for your prediction.
2-0.
2-0. Have you bothered to take the dice when you're?
I forgot the dice altogether.
Good. Okay, so 2-0 from you, Steve. What about you?
I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. I'm just interested in what the lineup will be. I'm also disappointed that I can't sing me Whisper song, and I'm going to have to hold it back for another week at least. So,
Joseph.
It's a piss of that. I think we'll win 2-0, and I think Big Nick will get them both. Why not?
All right, George.
Well, I said it on Monday, 4-0. No problem.
Even with Wisser out? Really?
Yes, even with they're out. Goodness gracious. We've never been a one-man team, and we're not going to be a one-man team again, unless it's our new Nick. He might be the one man. I tell you what, though, I couldn't help but smile when you said at the beginning that's the end of mentioning a certain person at Eddie's press conferences. I think you're going to be wrong, because every time he farts, they'll want to know if Eddie heard him.
God, you're probably right. Well, my prediction yesterday was a very conservative 2-0 as well. So let's see where we go. Tomorrow morning, back 10 o'clock with Threezy Crowd, the North East Football Show. And on Sunday, yes, it is the professionals at 5 o'clock. There'll be a few bleary eyes on that one, I'm sure, from Mitch and Stu. Have a great time, Mitch. Have an enjoyable night. Pass on our best to Mr. Penman. Thanks to everybody for watching. Just a quick one on that. A big thank you. We never take your support for granted. Last month's stats: new subscribers 293, total views 215,000, and minutes watched last year 3.1 million. So thank you very much to everybody who tuned in. And shorts, which we put on now, especially Mitch, 1,048 likes, 86 comments and 36 shares, but 63,000 views on the shorts. So well worth doing those little AI-generated shorts. Thanks to everybody. Have a good weekend. Don't let the football spoil it. Enjoy the game if you go, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Good to see you, lads.